Hi guys, my name is Borodante, and welcome to SCP-3000. Now this is gonna be a quick painting that I started and finished today. If you don't know what SCP is, it's like a creepypasta, a made-up, or is it? A made-up creature described in the secret documents of a fictional The Foundation that takes care of all kinds of anomalies all over the world. So I'll just go ahead and start thumbnailing the composition, searching for what I like and don't like, and then I'll discuss it, but while I'll be doing that, you'll be watching the time-lapse and you'll listen to me reading the main description of SCP-3000. Spoiler alert, it's an incredibly long eel at the bottom of the ocean, but there's much more to it. SCP-3000 is a massive aquatic serpentine entity strongly resembling a giant moray eel. The full length of SCP-3000 is impossible to determine, but is hypothesized to be between 600 and 900 kilometers. The head of SCP-3000 measures roughly 2.5 meters in diameter, and sections of the body proper are as large as 10 meters in diameter. Alright, let's see what I have to say about my progress right after this quick word from this channel's sponsor WingFox and their super new tutorial on anime art style. The Medieval Maiden is a course that covers drawing a 2D vintage-style female character. This course is very interesting with its popular art style, as well as the fact that mostly you will be using Procreate to develop the artwork. The lecturer shares her experience in coloring and will explain some of the key points in color combination. The course covers conception, sketching, coloring, and refining, as well as lighting, shading, and high level of composition. And since this course was created with beginners in mind, everything will be covered and explained in detail. This new tutorial has a special event, so the first 500 purchases will cost only $9, and the first 1,000 purchases will be $19. So if you're interested, make sure not to miss out on these cool offers, and check the affiliate link in the description, where you'll also find an extra discount code. Now back to SCP. Alright, I actually think I really like this composition right away. I slightly developed it by adding these foreground extra parts of the creature. There's a lot of depictions of this SCP on the internet, and I found all of them having at least like two things done not well enough. Number one, the angle and the lighting. The lighting is too bright. It almost looks like everything's in a pool instead of being deep in the ocean, while almost always the angle is like from the side instead of being from the top. In my opinion, it makes much more sense to show the creature kind of from the top. So in front of us is the bottom of the ocean. We're looking downwards. So all the lighting, if we even have a little bit of the dim lighting coming from the surface of the water, which is totally possible since SCP-3000 reaches the surface to hunt. This is the way it was discovered. It attacked some ships or something like that. Plus we just have a diver here. They can't be too deep underwater, their head would explode. So some light from the surface of the water is totally possible, and that will give us this tool to create a very subtle hint on how long the creature actually is. Now, I won't exactly be able to show, the full potential of the length because it's ridiculous. If I'll show all the length, I'll, one, help to light up all the ocean. There's no way we'll be able to naturally light up so much water to actually see 600 to 900 kilometers of this creature. And secondly, while I could use certain tricks in perspective, I would have to make the head and the person right here much, much smaller, which is something I don't want to do. I want to show the, the interaction. So yeah, that's why I ended up with this composition. What I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna sort of start over. This is like a thumbnail. As I was working on this thumbnail, I noticed that it will be really hard to work on the values of this eel. By the way, it's not exactly eel, so there will be a lot of really fun search with the head. It's pretty much a god, presumably Indian god, that will last for the forever of time or whatever. So yeah, I have a lot of liberty in terms of what exactly the head of it in reality turns out to be, so that'll be fun. But yeah, to be able to freely search these values, I need to make sure that this lit up water. This is just from the flashlight of our hero right here. This is a lot of water aerial perspective. It has a very strong gradient. It's not a flat one. It changes a lot. It really quickly fades away. So in here, there's already a significant gradient of that aerial perspective. In here, the darkest black needs to be just this color, and in here, it's already gonna be much dimmer. Well, not this much, it's a bit of a quick marking of this aerial perspective I did here, but somehow like that it will be. It will be really strong. I don't want to stretch it too much the way they do in video games sometimes, where your flashlight just keeps going, like the light is lighting up the end of the giant hallway. It's so unrealistic. There's a cubic formula to the way the lighting brightness fades away with distance, which is much faster than most games do, and they mostly do that for the gameplay purposes so you would be able to see something. But we can see everything with the normal flashlight in reality, don't we? Why not do that? I don't know, to me it always feels like it's a bit breaking the atmosphere, because when the flashlight is going for too far, it doesn't really feels like a flashlight. One of the horror aspects of the flashlight is not just because everything is dark around you and you just see one light in front of you, but also that this light doesn't even reach that far. Everything goes away into darkness relatively fast. And you have something really bright in front of you that sort of has this context of attracting unwanted attention while everything else is really dark around you. That's cool. That's a proper flashlight effect. So I really want to give that a try in here. So I'll make sure that this aerial perspective or the flashlight volumetric effect, right? It will be in the separate layer. And on top of that layer, there will be these foreground parts of the creature and the diver as well, since all of them are in front of the main effect of the flashlight. Although a little bit will go on top of the diver, it kind of makes sense since the lighting bounces around and all that, but that's a secondary thing. We don't necessarily have to think about it too much. So yeah, these are my thoughts. There will be 3 layers. The main creature layer with everything in the back, the flashlight volumetrics layer, and then the foreground much darker layer with closer parts of the eel and the diver. So let's continue. SCP-3000 is typically a sedentary creature, only moving its head in response to certain stimuli or during feeding. So this is like the version of the scene in super clean water, and we just see the objects. Well, except for the aerial perspective that we still can see, but yeah, without it, we wouldn't see the diver at all. So yeah, now I'll add that layer that will separately define the actual volumetric. One thing I'm thinking about right now, though, is that I may have to switch to Photoshop, at least temporarily, because I'll need to color correct it to turn it from black and white into actual, like, ocean color. It needs to be kind of like teal. And yeah, after trying it a couple of times, I'm not using effects and Krita in their current states. Just now, actually, after creating one thumbnail, I had to restart Krita after just making a screenshot of the thumbnail to save my work, because it ended up just infinitely applying the filter that I didn't even... Anyway, I'll add the lighting in a separate layer like this. So this is our separate layer this way, and I'll work on that a little bit, and maybe I should just switch to Photoshop pretty much, because I want to have that as a separate smart layer, adjustment layer, so it would be applying the filters in real time as I paint. So here we go. I'll probably go with color balance, kind of like this filter, and I guess something like that will do for starters. Now for the fun part. SCP-3000 is carnivorous, and despite its sedentary nature, is capable of moving quickly to dispatch prey. Despite its size, it is hypothesized that SCP-3000 does not require sustenance to maintain its biological functions. While SCP-3000 excretes a thin layer of viscous, dark gray substance through its skin as it consumes prey, the end result of its digestive processes is currently unknown. Oh god, finally it kinda stopped looking like a bird. I had this problem. Well, generally, like, I'm not satisfied with the look yet at all. Like, I keep having this in mind, like, there's a potential, like, this is the god. It can look very special, and there's certain aspect to the godnessness of the look. It needs to look somewhat absolute, but not like alien. And also I'm just applying some features from the eel, but as far as I understand, it shouldn't be like literally the giant eel. That's like a very stupid thing to do. In the description it says that it's strongly resembling a giant moray eel, but that's just in its shape or whatever. It doesn't mean that the head is literally the same. So yeah, one thing I'm working on right now is making sure that the teeth are actually really tiny, because I think it makes a lot of sense, as I mentioned before with the possessed basketball episode. Huge teeth is super dumb in general. They're not functional and not even really scary. What's scary is the look of the actual giant mouth that can really bite you, you know? So I'm searching for that. Also trying to define something more complex than just a basic tip of the body this head is, adding certain variations in the geometry. So there's a certain like a forehead part, then there's a little bit at the top. I should add like some kind of fin starting in there as well, so that will be also an interesting search. This is a really fun painting because like it's a deep underwater scene, not a lot of things going on, pretty much no gravity involved, so you can create any composition you want. And with the lighting that's always scarce at the deep sea, you get to just work on exactly what you really want to work on. On the most important part, and everything else is just gone. This is like a perfect painting to work on. It's not perfect. not even close. So yeah, I'll try to use all of my brushwork tricks that I discovered recently. It's really fun to do that. And yeah, it's really cool to work on it while the volumetric is on top. Some stuff I can't even see, but it literally doesn't matter because it disappears in here. I'll never see it and no one will ever see it. One interesting note I wanted to share, that my volumetric layer is not in normal mode and not in screen mode as well. It's specifically in lighten mode. What's awesome about this mode is that when you work with these colors, so they would light up, you can literally use the color picker and it would work just correctly. Screen mode lightens up everything, and when you grab a new color, it will get brighter and brighter every time you use a color picker in this layer, while lighten mode doesn't do that. It's just like, is this color, okay, is this color brighter than the colors underneath? Then it will be lighting up everything. If not, it will keep the original layer, and that's it. And yeah, on top of all of that, we have this layer right here. This is just the flashlight without the diver here. And on top of that, we have just this color correction thing. So yeah, I'll just keep going, and at a certain point, I shouldn't forget that I can actually colorize the guy as well. No one's canceling that part. Like, even though the tint is blue, the flashlight is a white color, so the creature will expose all of its colors. Not these ones, though. So yeah, keep going. Probably won't have a lot of things to say from now on, so just a lot of fun with searching the creature. SCP-3000 is a Class 8 cognitohazardous entity. Direct observation of SCP-3000 may cause severe mental alterations in viewers. Individuals who directly observe SCP-3000, as well as any individuals within an uncertain distance of SCP-3000, experience inexplicable head pain, paranoia, general fear and panic, and memory loss or alteration. Alright, doing some, I don't know, pretty decent progress, I guess. Not sure I'm exactly happy with the fact that I have this basic vertical vagina thing for the mouth. That's usually what I go with when I go with like unseen before creature, but I don't know, why not? It's not exactly like the mouth is mostly horizontal, and here I did something relatively complex. I was thinking like two separate pieces in here would be like this and this, like extra separately moving things. And I still want them to look like that, but I sort of built it more and more complicated and now they're grown together. So I'll probably increase that segregation again so it would be noticeable somehow. Like there's extra flesh that's connecting them, that's sort of cool. But yeah, it shouldn't look like it's solid. So yeah, I'll do that. Another thing I'm searching for is what to put inside of the mouth. That's the part where it may get kind of really cool. Up to the point that there may be like almost hands or like horizontal jaws in this case, because they're only like vertical. We can add horizontal ones, but they may look like almost hands kind of thing. I don't know why, it feels like it may be really cool. It will be sort of a bit further away from the light source than the frontal plane of the face, the head. So they will be a bit dimmer, not to mention that they're sort of like there will be some kind of shadow cast from the upper jaw. So they will be not as noticeable. Plus they may be like of a darker, more of a meat material, so they will be a bit dimmer with that. Also, a little fix I did, I removed the highlight from the eyeball. Underwater, you don't really get highlights. It's not a thing, you never see anyone's eye having a highlight, do you? It's not that highlights are impossible underwater, it's just that water has much higher density than air, and in order to have a highlight, there needs to be a drastic difference in density between the reflective material and the environment. And in water, that difference is much lower, but maybe on an eyeball, it kind of makes sense. Yeah, you know what? It's about moisture on the surface of like a skin or a stone that disappears completely. Obviously, those won't make any reflections because reflections tend to happen on those surfaces because there's water on their surface. And underwater, there's no surface of that water anymore, so it's not reflective. Same as skin becomes kind of matte. But the eyeball may be reflective. Yeah, okay, eyeballs kinda have reflections. Whenever there's any kind of stronger lighting, the eyeball is a little bit reflective. Here's a lighting close to ours. By the way, gorgeous fish. And yeah, there is a highlight. It's really tiny, as highlights should be. Yep, highlights on eyeballs underwater confirmed. Moving on. So yeah, I'll try to make more of a complex design. I actually really like right now how this is shaping up. This looks kind of epic. I don't know why I think that, but it has this feeling of something monumental in a way when it has this kind of level of detail. So maybe I'll add more of that somewhere, but obviously not everywhere. I don't want to just cover the whole thing with this texture and it will be overly detailed. But yeah, showing a little bit of that is kind of cool looking. SCP-3000 was discovered in 1971, shortly after 2 Bangladeshi fishing boats and 15 fishermen were reported missing after drifting near the Indian coast. As the country of Bangladesh had only been recently established at the time and had been subject to significant political persecution, this incident received high-profile media attention due to fears that it was a result of foreign aggression. Okay, so I'm thinking this is going to be like a final stage now. So what I did just now, I merged everything together. So all of this is just this one layer. Yeah, also I added this dark gray liquid that's from the description. This is actually the main, actually unusual thing about this SCP-3000 is that, like, without it, it's just a giant sea creature. It's not really an SCP, but this liquid is actually a very strong, like a toxin or something unknown about it that makes people lose themselves as human beings. They forget what they are and what their purpose in life is and everything. So SCP Foundation is actually using this liquid as to wipe people's memories when they get to know something they shouldn't know, kind of thing. So a very useful liquid for SCP Foundation. So they actually ended up feeding a lot of people to this godlike creature to actually make it secrete this liquid so they could use it for their own purposes. There's actually, like, it's a very long article about this SCP, so if you guys are interested, you can read a lot of reports about what happened to people that were researching it and all that stuff, so that's really cool. Foundation researchers stationed in Calcutta drew similarities between this disappearance and another incident 2 years earlier. A thorough search revealed the location of the two boats, as well as an unknown, previously undiscovered mass deep below the surface of the Bay of Bengal. Further investigation by Foundation divers discovered the existence of SCP-3000. The area was quickly secured, and current containment procedures were put in place in April of 1972. The ADZAC protocol was adapted in October 1998. Alright, I'm gonna call it done. So this is it. One thing I'm kind of anxious about. Can you even see what's going on? Like, there's a head of a creature, and this is just some kind of tunnel. Pretty much, like, you don't really see the connection of everything. Like, I should probably tone down this part right here. That would be one thing. Like, it doesn't have to be that intense, so we would see the continuation of the body over there a bit better. This Oblivion liquid doesn't have to be that opaque everywhere, so that's already better, because it was really just all over the place too much, breaking the whole picture into separate pieces. So if we tone it down a bit, everything comes back together a little bit. And yeah, I guess aside from that, it's one of those situations where you kind of see this at first, and then you kind of notice that this is still the body of the creature goes on, and you're getting the idea of the length of this boy. So these are the final touches after I merged the layers. Kind of fun. Yeah, I decided not to add anything in the mouth. Like, it only looked like I was overworking that area. Nothing really fit in that well when I tried it. Yeah, just the look of this big hole, like blackness in the mouth. That seems to be much more of a striking look than whatever shoving something else in that mouth. So yeah, if it would go for a much bigger painting, there would be a lot of work with the tiny values, with the masses around the, like, gums around the teeth and all that, the way I did it a little bit. But yeah, aside from that, a very creepy image. But you guys tell me what you think. Did I nail this SCP-3000? Is it looking more like actual 3000 comparing to other artwork? Because I haven't seen a lot of usage of the scale, the dark gray liquid, and generally the proper placement, like actually being deep underwater in the ocean instead of something really bright. So yeah, I just really wanted to work on that atmosphere of, you know, discovering it down there. So yeah, hopefully I succeeded at that. Tell me guys what other SCPs to do, because I might do another one pretty soon, because it's really fun. So yeah, leave your ideas in the comments, and I thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye! I wonder if this plankton is affected by the dark gray liquid. Like a whole bunch of it here, all of them forgot what was their purpose in life. So there we go.